Good evening, people. Welcome to Football United TV. It's Thursday, so that means Gunners from all corners. And first of all, it's time to play that famous intro. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's show. I gotta say, we got a good sized panel here tonight. Seriously, we got a really be good sized panel. And Marley, I see you jiving in the background when the music's on. I seen you, mate. We always do it, but I forgot. I tell you what, let's go round from top to bottom. Marley, how you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm a little sick actually, but I'm happy to be here. Good to be on a stream for the first time with Sophie. I'm delighted for this. Having TC and Manny, a pleasure again, but I should say, from past experience, I can't stay for over an hour and a half. So I'm just making that crystal clear right now because I know these two gentlemen.
Hopefully, it won't go for that long. Because we get to telling off. Right, Sophie, first time on the show. Well, welcome to the show first of all, and how you doing?
Thank you so much for inviting me to come on. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm doing good, thanks. How are you all doing?
We're all good. We're all good. And Toni, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's nice to see everyone down here. It's an honor to always be with you, Anthony. The show is one of those places where I first started, and of course, you know our history, Anthony. So it's nice to come chop it up with you here. And Charlie, of course, me and this guy have been have been to legend battles together on this show, definitely. But I'm happy to be here again with him. Sophia, this is the first time I've not seen you before ever. This is the first time I've seen you, and already I like your person already, and it's nice to meet you. Manny has been a very, very big friend of mine. I'm a fan of his actually, and when I first started my channel, he was there. He came to help me develop my channel too. So big up to you, Manny, and it's nice to see you down here today, and hopefully we get to have a lovely show today.
And last but not least, Manny, how you doing, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, pretty good. I know it's a little bit late in my neck of the woods, but always happy to come on. And we certainly should have a really lively discussion where, some of us may agree on some things and disagree on a few things. I just hope that, all opinions are going to be welcome. And I know that is the case more or less over here. And I always say we need to treat each other the way we'd like to be treated ourselves.
That's right, Manny. Couldn't agree with you even more on that one. Right, before we start the show, I'm just going to click onto this. It's galactokits.com. This is a company that we're sponsored by. Basically, they sell a whole range of football kits from this season and going back last season before. And you know what? They even do a little bit of retro. I mean, everybody likes a bit of retro. As you can see, cheers, Marty, for bringing it up. They do a wide range of tops there. It's good quality stuff, authentic. The price range is a decent price range. I always say this every week. I've even picked out two myself, and I got them for Christmas. It's something that the missus is going to buy me, and she's moaning about the price, so she only wants to pay for one. So I said, all right, then that's fine.
Tell her. That's cool. Tell her that she can find a promo code in the last FITA show we did. That will get her 15% off. By the way, these prices here, they're in reais, my currency back in Brazil. They're non-pounds. So you can divide all that by pretty much 6. So
Yeah.
good prices, good content, authentic content from all over the place, from all all the way back to recent stuff as well. Do check it out.
Yeah, make sure you do. Okay, and let's get on with the show. Right, our last game in the Premier League: Arsenal 3, Burnley 1. All fairness, I watched this game. Wasn't a bad game, you know. I did predict a 3-0 win, but 3-1, you know, what the hell. But you know, I think, you know, in total, this was a good game. I mean, Trossard getting the first goal. I mean, obviously, how he scored that goal and collided with the post. I think he caught his arm or something like that. But I mean, fair play to him. He got up, you know, brushed himself off and obviously carried on with the game. And then our defense, our star centre back really with the second, Saliba, and Zinchenko with the third, with that scissor kick, what I call it, straight into the back of the net. Pick that one out. Yeah, that's what I've always said. Pick him out. But apart from that, I mean, with this Shevchenko goal, I felt it was a good goal. I think, if I'm not mistaken, obviously I know someone in the panel or someone in the comments might, you know, correct me on this, but I think when he I think he drifted up into the midfield. I think that was where he come on into the midfield area, and then obviously he got the goal. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'll tell you what. That's enough about me waffling. Morley, let me get your thoughts on this game, mate.
All right. Well, I think the Zinchenko goal was a rebound from a corner kick, wasn't it? And yeah, he was playing as an inverted left back like he usually does. I think that when Kivior came in, like after the red card, he might have went ahead to midfield, but I can't be sure. Like I don't quite remember. Good solid game, of course. Like I'm not gonna get too excited about defeating Burnley, who's struggling this season. I see them like struggling for a while still. But you know, like good solid game overall. Probably Zinchenko's best performance since his injury last season. Because before he was flying, but since he got injured, like it was never quite the same. He performed well. Good to see Saliba scoring, like probably our most like regular and best player, like besides Rice. So yeah, good solid game overall. Don't have too much to say about that. Got some whining to do probably. I'm not in any way against that red card, but I just feel really, I don't know. It's getting to a point where I'm really frustrated, and I don't know what else people need to see. Like the same ref that didn't give a red card to Kovacic, giving 2 fouls that were a lot worse than this Fabio Vieira foul. Like he gave him a straight red, and Kovacic did not get a red twice. Same ref, exact same ref.
But,
so like it's getting to a point where it's like Arsenal is constantly, like we're constantly criticizing Arteta, for example, for overplaying Saka, which I'm okay with that criticism. He needs to be rested more, but he's also very unprotected in the Prem. Like the inconsistencies against Arsenal are they're getting to a point where it's freaking hilarious. Like 13 games in the season, there's been like 8 controversial decisions against us, or like just straight up errors against us. That's not inconsistency anymore. It's consistently trying to screw us over. And I think it's pretty admirable that Arsenal is at the amount of points we're at. We're not playing fantastically, but we should be at more because there's been so many freaking bad mistakes against us. But anyway, we won, and that's all that matters, I guess.
Well, yeah, that's all that matters. Yeah, and getting 3 points, you know, the win before the internationals. But in all fairness, I will say that was a bit of a clumsy tackle by Fabio Vieira. It definitely was. But you know, obviously he got his punishment. You know, he's going to get he's got a red card. He's going to get a 3-game ban, and that's it. So he's just got to man up and, you know, improve from his mistakes. Sophie, your thoughts on this game? And also, if you want to talk about Fabio Vieira getting sent off, give your opinions on the red card. That's entirely up to you.
Yeah, well, I actually went to the game and I thought, like, the first half, I did think it was a bit flat. I felt like with our injuries, like with Partey, Jesus, and some others, I think it is affecting how we play. And, we do kind of lack that creativity and we do struggle to score. I've said this for a while. We do need a striker, and I think it makes things harder with Jesus being out. So I think the first half I did expect more of us. Obviously, like you said before, Trossard got that goal, which I think was at the right time for us, and obviously he scored our 1000th goal, which is amazing. But yeah, I think the second half was much better. I was actually at the opposite end, so I couldn't really see who scored them goals, but I did see the Zinchenko one. I thought that was amazing, and I thought he had a great game as well. With the Vieira one, I think at that point we knew we kind of won the game anyway, and we were kind of dominating it. So I don't really have like a lot of criticism about it. I think it's one of those ones where it kind of was a bit. I think it was a soft decision. I think you can understand why it might be given, but I think at that point I wasn't too fussed because we've won, and I do think with the referees though, I do think they have this thing against Arsenal, and I do think, like other teams with Liverpool, with United, they've had some bad decisions go their way, and we've seen Arteta come out to talk about it, and obviously he's been fined, which we kind of knew that would happen. But yeah, I just think the referees aren't great, really, especially for Arsenal, but it is part of the game, and I think winning was the most important thing. I don't think it was our best performance of the season by far, but I think the fact we got a few goals, I think that's important because we are kind of on level with Liverpool, and we're trying to get as many points as we can. So I think it's good that we got a lot of goals too. But yeah, I think the most important thing was getting that win, because obviously hadn't we have won, Spurs lost before us, and I hope that gave us that motivation to do that. But yeah, I think the most important thing is getting those 3 points.
Yeah, definitely. But you've come on to it. You mentioned other teams like, obviously Liverpool. I think you brought up Manchester United as well. And then, looking at this Premier League now at the minute, it is so tight. It is absolutely tight. I mean, Man City, the top with 28. Liverpool and us both on 27. Obviously, goal difference separating us. Tottenham 26, Villa 25, and Manchester United 21. So there are 6 points. Basically, we're 6 points above Man United, 2 wins. And you look at their season and their games compared to how we've played this season, and you feel like, how's that possible? Like, do you know what I mean? So, it is reasonably tight. I'm not ditching, mate. Well, I am having a slight dig at Man United, yeah, obviously, but it's just amazing how it's turned out so far. Tony, your thoughts, mate. Your thoughts on the game, and anything else you want to throw into the fire? Be my guest, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Big up to the chat, people who are in the chat here. Gunnar Gadrin is down here. Harry Options down here. Sideline is a friend of mine. Big ups to you. Sideline Football Show and Static and Now Kane. Big up to you, legends down there. Yeah. See that game against Burnley. Yeah. See, I'm this kind of guy that I take stats as a guide. Yeah, because it shows a true reflection of what has happened. Look at that Burnley team before they came down to the Emirates. What have they done? This is a team that has played 11 games, scored just about 8 goals at the time, conceded a whooping 27 goals. Yeah, in about 11 games. Yeah, and just got only about 4 points, from that 11. So definitely, we were to be expecting, a team that doesn't know how to defend, a team that doesn't know how to coordinate themselves, a team that looks lackluster. But after the first 30 minutes of that game, every Arsenal fan, were thinking, "Oh my God, I hope this is not one of those days." Sophie, I see you shaking your head. I since you were in that game, I know that definitely, that deja vu kind of thing will be running through your mind again. Oh God, not this again. And of course, after 30 minutes, allowing this fringe midfield of Godmutson, Colosio, Brunhill, to run the show in the first 7 to 10 minutes, allowing these guys to just run at us. Uh, um, I think a particular Switzerland striker and Downey had to pull a save from David Raya, who was a lot in that game. To be very, very frank, he had 4 saves in that match, which is quite tremendous. I think he's growing in that position, and that's what I really do expect from David Raya. Mostly with what's happening to Ramsdale right now, we need a goalkeeper who is more confident, who can actually concentrate on the game of football for the at least 90 minutes that's being called to do that. So it's just good to see David Raya, grow, from strength to strength. And, he's keeping lots of clean sheets, but on the day, we couldn't keep a clean sheet. What is it with the Emirate this season and why we can't keep clean sheets? Good. I'll move further into the gameplay. Mikel Arteta, stubborn still this season, thinking of, you know, always starting Kai Havertz. What is it with Kai Havertz and this guy? I I don't know. I don't know about every other person in this panel, but what is it about Kai Havertz that we just have to, bow to this guy and start him in most of these games? Is it because of the price tag, $65 million dollars that we used to get this guy from Chelsea Football Club? Is that why he's starting games? Good and okay, no problem. He starts in that midfield. Of course, with Jorginho, who has had mixed plays this season. But of course, Kai Havertz missing two-seater headers on the day, of which in the second header that he missed, our coach, Mikel Arteta, was, putting his hands on his head due to that second miss. And you were the coach who actually brought this guy to the football club. And why are you feigning this kind of like disappointment when he loses those chances? He can't pass. He slows down our acceleration. The players around him don't trust him. He can't move the ball acceleratedly. He doesn't have any navigation system around him. He can't help our play in any way. He slows down the progression. But apart from that, there were also the goods. Someone in the name of Trossard, who hasn't been tested in that number 9 position. It's all very, 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 very good to see that this player was used in that game against Sevilla in the Champions League. Scored a goal in that one. Mind you, played in that number 9 position, a position he hasn't played or even been tested in this football club. Uh, Came down to Burnley again. Did not just score the goal, yeah, Anthony, but also he put his body on the line. How many
Yeah.
strikers? How many players? Yeah, let's just take time to just breathe a little bit. Yeah, how many times have you seen a player, yeah, put his body on the line for Arsenal Football Club? I'm telling you, the last time I saw it was on Saturday. That guy put his body on the line just to get a goal, just to get a nick into it. And you see, when you start seeing this type of attitudes from certain players, yeah, that's what you want. You want to be in that action. You want to have more and more of players like that who would come into this football club, give their all, even if they're one of the most disrespected players. I really feel that this player has been one of the most disrespected players down here in this football club. Got the player of the month in March, and April couldn't get a sniff of a start from Mikel Arteta. Most of the time being brought in 80th minute, 86th minute, 89th minute, being constantly disrespected by this manager. Good and okay. Let's leave that. Probably maybe something else will take care of that. But mind you, if Eddie Nketiah is fully fit, if Gabriel Jesus, who have learned magically, see, we're being told that Gabriel Jesus was injured. Just look at the PR spin that he was being injured and he was going to come back by December. Lo and behold, he's down there training with the Brazilian national team. They are saying he's fit. He's going to play. See, let's remove
He's
that
he's
PR
not going to
spin. Yeah,
play.
just
He's not going to play. He's not going to play for Brazil.
well, you don't know. You don't know. You don't know. You don't have the
I
answers. You
do.
don't know. Right now,
I do. I
right now.
do. I do.
Yeah,
The team's
yeah,
been
yeah. No,
announced
no, no. Right,
in Brazil.
no. Right now, he's training. Right now, he's training with the Brazilian national team. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Ch- Yeah. Okay. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. If he's training with them, that's all I need to know. Now we'll move on from that. Yeah. If Gabriel Jesus comes back into this team, do you think that Trossard will have his number 9 position? The answer is no. He'll go straight right back to the bench. We all know this manager has his favorites in this team. He's not going to play. Let's throw that all away. There's also still good news. We have William Saliba. What can we do without this absolute truck and rock at the back? And that's what you get when you have world class players. He's a world class player. And despite we having a 6 foot plus, 65 million pound player, yeah, who could get headers in the 18-yard box, guess who scored the goal for us? It's William Saliba. It's easy. It's in the simple things. Just put your head down there and then you score it. Easy for William Saliba. You don't need to be a 65 million pound signing for you to know how to do the simplest of things, the basic of things. Just know how to put your head, concentrate, and you score the goal. And that's what William Saliba did on the day. World class player. That third goal from Zinchenko, that scissors kick. See, yeah, guys, yeah, it doesn't matter how many times you take the time to look at how he scored that goal. It takes a different level of finesse to actually execute what Zichenko actually did. You have to have the perfect sense of measurement. The metrics needs to be quite executed according to precision. The way he hit that ball, yeah, and the ball was not just coming with your normal pace. It was coming with a very very fast pace. So he had to measure that kick. He had to measure the way he had to take it. And that lovely goal, probably one of the best showings from Zichenko. Although I still have problems with him playing defensively, quite in some few run out. He was caught out of position sometimes in that game, but still, it doesn't still overshadow what happened on the day. He tried his best. He gave a good account of himself. I think he should just be more sharper as a defender, because that's the position he's occupying in this football club. So if he's more sharper and gives us much around that midfield area, it will be very very good. And mind you guys, yeah, Tomiyasu uh, came uh, came for us in that right back position. Uh, that slip from him. See, yeah, in his past 4 to 5 games, I've liked how Tomiyasu have played, but that slip from him, I found that to be ridiculous. I don't know how that happened, but very, very ridiculous showing. But still, I still like him. But mind you, he'll be going to the Asian Cup by January. Do we have enough cover? See, the January transfer window will still come back to Hunters. I've just heard that the manager will be given just £50 million. Would that be enough for a backup for Saka? Would that be enough to go get us a striker? Would that be enough to go get us at least a right-sided defender? Because we do know that if William Saliba goes out of this team, we are not going to see any other competent defender unless we're going to bring Kivio. Of course, he's a left-sided defender. So are we going to pair 2 left-sided defenders? Well, look at the Olympic Stadium in the game against West Ham to go see what happened when we last played 2 left-sided defenders. It was deadly as we know it. But still, our manager Mikel Arteta has been charged by the FA this afternoon with FA breach rules of I think uh, 331A. So let's see what's that gonna be. I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah. They
but
see
he
the
has been charged
financial.
today.
I did. I
I hope
hear
he
something
doesn't.
about that.
go harder than that. But let's see.
Yeah. It's most probably like what you said, but you mentioned, Tony, about I'm going to go to Manny, but you just to finish it off, you mentioned that obviously about Kai Havertz, but obviously within playing in games. I said it on streams before this and that. I personally think there is something in his contract that he's got to participate in a certain amount of number of games. But that's my opinion. That's my views on it. Manny, your thoughts on this game, mate, and if there's anything Tony said that's you want to touch upon, go ahead, mate. It's all yours.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I don't know if there's anything really that can be more touched upon, given how everyone pretty much covered everything. I will say that it was a typical Burnley sort of performance. They were going to be compact in defence. They were going to try and hold out and sort of prevent us from really making too much in terms of headway. And if it weren't for their goalkeeper, James Trafford, we probably would have taken the lead on one or two occasions, but still, we just couldn't quite break them down until half time. And I think it's another of those games, Tony, where, some of our star players did look really good in parts, but then just if they weren't really on the ball, they were just sort of drifting really through the game more than anything else. And the sight of Saka leaving, I think that was the game where he, was limping off at the end with his calf, I think, right? Something like that. And once again, we are going to continue to fear for Saka, because a lot of people will say that, look, it's happened with Raheem Sterling. He's played so many games, and world-class players will have to play that many games, and they will obviously be targeted. But still, he is only one serious injury away from being forced to take an even longer break. And you can even see through some of his performances that he can't really maintain the energy level for barely 60 minutes. And yet he's been kept on for about 80, 85 or 90 minutes or the full game. It just, one of these days, we are going to burn the poor fellow out. And that is something that a large number of people, pro-Arteta propagandists, as I call them, will never be willing to see. But then, of course, once we did score, the floodgates would start to open. And then, obviously, even after they equalised, because Tomiyasu ended up getting cooked by Koleosho, we had enough about us to get a second goal to put us ahead. And we've got to give full marks to Leandro Trossard for that corner, which really put Trafford in trouble. And then Saliba just, was at the right place at the right time to force home the issue. And it was 2-1. And from there probably really was only going to be one winner. And I wouldn't exactly call this really a dominant display by any means, but the result was sort of as expected. I predicted a 3-1 win because I didn't think Raya would be able to keep a clean sheet. I thought Burnley would get a consolation. And, of course, the goal they got turned out to be, in the end, a consolation and nothing more, though it could very easily have been one which would have put us under pressure. Credit to us, we did regroup, and Zinchenko did have a fine game capped off by that scissor kick goal. But again, as with Sheffield United, we can't allow ourselves to get completely carried away or gassed up, as many of us would say, about beating a Burnley side that are at the foot of the Premier League table for a reason. And although Kompany has got them looking a little bit more solid defensively, they will still be prone to a few occasional mistakes at the back. And I don't see them offering too much up front, especially with Lyle Foster having to take a sabbatical from the game due to some personal issues, which I won't get into right now. And at least before the international break, we've got this win. And of course, after the loss to Newcastle, we knew that we had a decent run of games where we'd be expected to win those games and recover quite well. And I believe after the international break, we got a trip to Brentford. And I will say again, there really is nothing much more to say about the team that hasn't been said. And of course, as Tony has said, despite doing everything he did, despite scoring that heroic goal, and I'll tell you what, that corner was so good that I'm pretty certain that Trafford would have been in trouble trying to even hold on to it. It could have been a goal from a corner kick. But of course, Saliba was there to force home the issue, and that suited Trossard just fine as long as we got the goal. And that is really a mark of what a great team player Trossard is. does everything asked of him, gives 110% every single game, and actually has quality to go along with it. But as Tony has said, once Jesus comes back, Trossard will have to make do with a place on the bench. Although I probably would go so far to say, Tony, that Jesus won't come back into the team right away. But you and I can both agree that Eddie Nketiah should never, ever be in contention for a starting spot at Arsenal Football Club as long as Jesus and Trossard are both fit. Because it's all about the levels, really. The biggest question mark about Jesus will, of course, be his own fitness, and if he does come back to full fitness before the January window, all the better for us, except I don't know if we'll be able to sign a number 9 in the January window. Maybe we might not need to, maybe we might. I think it might be better if we do, and then just offload Eddie Nketiah, because he is not going to, be the answer. And I will also go so far to say that with regard to what you said about Havertz having it in his contract that he has to play, Anthony, it's Willian all over again. And that's what angers me. We just never, ever learn from the mistakes that we make. You know how we always say once bitten, twice shy. You never want to do the same thing again because you don't want to get burnt again. Yeah. And yet we do the same thing again. And it cannot be that Mikel Arteta is completely innocent in all of this. But because the manager does have a say in every single transfer that comes in. I keep saying that ad infinitum. So Arteta does have to take his share of the blame for this, and he will try to do whatever he can to justify shoehorning him into the team, even if it means having to increase the workload on Declan Rice and Jorginho, who is, of course, only in that midfield because Odegaard is unavailable. And look, people are also going to say that, the fact that we're picking up points really shows how effective we are. But is it really down to how good we're performing, or the fact that we're playing against teams that, quite frankly, are neither able to cut the mustard nor quite able to really get it together against us for some reason or another? So, again, we can't allow ourselves to get too carried away. Otherwise, it'll be last season all over again.
All over again. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Manny. But, well, it's like what I said. I can see it. If there's one individual that I feel sorry for, Arsenal Football Club, we've mentioned him tonight, and that's Trossard. Because look at last time when we had loads of injuries and he was scoring goals. I think this was around about the period of Christmas and New Year, where he was scoring goals. As soon as Jesus and Eddie was back, bang, he was left out on the side. He was gone. So I really do feel sorry for players like that, and they should be looked at more than obviously. My feelings on Eddie Nketiah anyway. So, I'm just going to hit a couple of comments because there are quite a few coming in here. We have Harry's opinions. He's saying good evening, and then he goes on to say, "I'm glad everybody's okay." And then Harry goes on to say, "How do you feel about Kai Havertz?" No, Manny's got it right there. That's a Kai Havertz thing. Sophie, I don't know what I got a funny feeling this. You might know this Harry guy because he's never been in the comments before. You
Yeah, he's my friend. Yeah, we know. I know him.
Friend, yeah, he's friends. So yeah, Are you a Kai Havertz fan, Sophie, or no? Or
I want to be, but obviously we're not really seeing like the performances we want from him. I think the big problem is how much you paid for him, because he's not being worth it. Like with Declan Rice, we've seen he's been worth every penny and more. But with Havertz, I did think him scoring that penalty could have possibly given him more confidence to score goals. But like someone said before, there's a part of me in the back of my head that worries it could be another Willian, and I just don't want to go through that again. And I don't get why we keep going for like Chelsea players that have passed their peak. I mean, I know he's still young and everything, but it doesn't kind of end well when we pick Chelsea players. So I hope it works out, but right now I'm just not really feeling it.
No, I'm not feeling it as well. Good. Well said. Well, actually, fair play. Gunnar Gavrin's in the house. He says, "Big up from us all at Gunnar Gavrin." Listen, if anybody hasn't subscribed to the Gunnar Gavrin's channel, make sure you do. Another Arsenal channel. Big up to them. Good show with good content as well. We have also in here, we had Sideline Football Show. He says, "Big up to the panel in the chat. Big up to you, and thanks for tuning in as well, my friend." He then goes on to say, Big up Tony. He's one of Tony's friends.
Yeah,
Big up.
big up sideline football. He does great shows. Fame,
Yeah,
great guy, great guy. He assembles panels, and I should have him on my show one of these days. Big ups
yeah.
to you, sideline.
Big up to you. Yeah. And thanks for tuning in. Static's in the house. Static. Big up, mate. Big up the panel. He says, hey,
Big
the
up, Static.
panel. And he goes on to say 7 likes and please subscribe. Cheers, Static. Yeah, if you haven't liked or subscribed to this show, make sure you do. Please like, subscribe, share, even click that notification bell. It all helps. It all helps. Niall King's in the house. Big ups to you. And Matt goes on to say there is a poll so far. He says, poll so far, who is the number 1 goalkeeper? Well, I think he means what goalkeepers people rather have, Ramsdale or Raya. So Ramsdale at the minute is at 25% and Raya is at 75%. Get your votes in now. Okay. And King TV's in. Big up King TV. Thanks for tuning in, mate. He goes on and says, big up all. I feel the goalkeeper situation is hurting to the core of progression with the club. Do you agree, panel? Yeah, I totally agree. I got my views and my opinions on the 2 goalkeepers. I think Manny knows who I prefer. I think Morley. I'm not too sure if Tony does, but in all fairness, I prefer Ramsdale to Raya, but that's my only opinion on that one. And DWTT goes hello, and thank you for your comment and thanks for tuning in, DWTT. Eddie Football Waffle, thanks for tuning in, mate. He goes, good evening all, dropping a like for your all. Yep, cheers, mate. And then my King TV. That's what he goes on to say. And then DWTT with the last comment, he goes on to say, Arteta is still learning to be a manager, create more headaches. Adding Raya and Havertz, then removing Xhaka. He needs solutions, not projects. Yeah, he does need solutions and not projects. I tell you what, there is a certain, I was watching a certain stream going back a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying how much that, even though people do have their thoughts and their opinions now on Granit Xhaka, they're wondering now whether that was the right time of getting rid of him. But listen, it's not for me to say. Obviously, people's got their views on that, and that's entirely up to you. People in the comments, if you feel that, put it in the comments, and I'll read them out later on.
Anthony. See, relieving Granit Xhaka, and bringing in Kai Havertz into that team. The difference is clear with Mr. Goals. Yeah, I'm just talking of his last season. I'm not talking of the previous season. I'm just looking at last season. Yeah, we've missed the goals. We've missed that solidity in the middle of the park. We've missed the goals. Martinelli doesn't even have a foundation to roll up to, knowing that he's safe. He has to come back to help. And Kai Havertz has also rubbed off on our creator in chief, who is was down tools also. I'm talking of Martin Odegaard. Look at how he plays. He has down tools. Yeah, it's good and okay if we say he's playing with an injury. I still do think there's a PR spin on all that. Even before the injury talk was down there, his game was draining, and we could see the strain. That was that was going on with Martin Odegaard. Yeah, because he consistently had to stop creating, going back and start doing defensive duties also, of which he doesn't even have the stamina to even do that, and we don't even have anyone who is out there trying to create. So Kai Havertz has brought lots of, I'll call it lots of evils, rather than good to this team. He has completely grinded this team to a halt. Arsenal is top 4, but our table in creativity is now 10th, and it's due to this same guy. Granit Xhaka right now is in Bayer Leverkusen. Go and look at the creativity in the middle of the park. Just go and look at the creativity in the middle of the park. Go and see how Granit Xhaka is playing. He's an enforcer. He's a defender. He's helping out. He's doing everything. He progresses the ball. He's passing. He scored a few goals this season. It's the wrong time to actually release Granit Xhaka and bring in this, this Kai Havertz. I'm completely disappointed in this guy. He's the wrongest player to have. And I just really hope that Mikel Arteta, see, there is no shame. There is no shame. There is no shame.
He was better last
selling
season.
this guy by January.
Last season.
There is no shame in selling this guy by January. Completely no shame. Just rub all that shame off, and sell this guy by January. How about that? Do us a favor. Because right now, if we don't sell that guy, we are not... See, the Pepe who left this football club, we couldn't even get $1 million for this guy. Even $1 million, we couldn't get it.
We saw him for 2.5, wasn't it? 72 million. We saw him for like 2 or 3 million. That was
euros. That was euros. Yeah. It's not even up to £1 million. That's what I'm saying. So, and he made lots of contributions to this team. I think there was a time he scored up to 10 goals. Imagine Kai Havertz. He hasn't even scored up to that. The goal he got this season was gifted to him. It was a gift by Arsenal players who wanted to help him and help his, help his confidence. And I'm sorry, it's the Premier League. You have to prove yourself. His highest goal tally in Chelsea was 7 goals. His highest goal tally in Germany was, I think, about 17 goals in a season, and that's Germany. And that was, at his prime when he scored lots of goals in Germany. So this guy, we've seen everything. He can't do anything for this team. Get this guy out of this football club immediately.
Yeah, we will. So even if we take a loss on him soon, I got to go on to the next. I'm going to go on to the next one because Maury said he can't do it over an hour and a half. But listen, this Ramsdale and Raya thing, everybody's been talking about on streams. We haven't talked about it on here. Do you know what? Everybody's got their views and their opinions, who they prefer in goal. It's safe to say that Ramsdale and Mikel Arteta they've got a problem. They most probably had a fallen out in whatever. And then what we see in the obviously in the press or whatever is Ramsdale's dad is taking it to the press, obviously slating Mikel Arteta. For me, there's nothing wrong. I'm a father myself, but I got to be honest with you, there's nothing wrong with giving any of your kids, no matter how old your kids are, if you want to give them a piece of advice, give them a piece of advice. That's fine. But there was no need to make it public, in my opinion. There is no need to make it public at all. That they should have just communicated together with one of them, with each other. If Ramsdale had a problem with Mikel Arteta, he should have went in and knocked on his door, basically, and just spoke to him. As adults do, if you've got a problem, bring him into a corner, whether training or speak to him in the office. That's brilliant. But for a father to do that, to make it go public, that's really made it awkward now for Aaron Ramsdale, in my opinion, and most probably with his footballing career. Maury, let me just get your views on this one quickly, and I'm just going to go along. So Sophie, Tony, then Manny.
Yeah. Well, we've been really unlucky with the goalkeeper situation. Like they weren't awesome, but they were both good goalkeepers last season. Now all of a sudden, I still think Raya is the better keeper. But like Ramsdale last season was better than Raya is now. So it's just unfortunate. I just answering Saeed's question, for example, answering the king. I don't know about the goalkeeper situation. I know they both suck right now. That's all I have to say. I don't know if I put this blame on the management or anything like that. Like I know that Ramsdale wasn't good enough for us to be fully satisfied with our goalkeeper situation if we're chasing titles, if we're looking to grow as a club. So I'm okay with the gamble we took. We haven't done well in that gamble quite yet, but I do think Raya is not only better but has a higher ceiling when it comes to what we want to do as a football club.
Yeah. Sophie, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think for me it's obviously tough on which goalkeeper I think's better. I think for me, like his dad, like Ramsdale's dad was saying in the interview, that the fact is Arteta's the guy that's making these decisions, and it was really good to watch him and listen that he was really supportive of Raya. I think my heart really is with Ramsdale. I feel like he's obviously, he has made a few mistakes, and it could have cost us last season. I think there were a few different things that affected why we didn't win the league, but I wouldn't really say it's probably down to him on that. But yeah, it's obviously really tough, and it's really hard to kind of say if the interview was the right thing to do, because like I watched all, and the interviewer Sophie was asking questions that we were probably thinking as fans, but I didn't expect his dad to be so open and honest, like publicly, like you said. I think it's surprising, and I know Arteta probably won't like the interview and what happened, because he's quite private, and he'd probably rather Ramsdale come to his door and speak to him privately about it. But yeah, the situation's difficult really, because I didn't really expect Ramsdale to be dropped in the way he did, and I think he has been hard done by a bit. I don't think it's been completely fair on him, but this is football, and things change, and players won't be in the position forever. But I think it's hard because we didn't know everything behind the scenes. We don't know Arteta's side. We've only seen his dad's version of what he's saying with Ramsdale, but it's obviously a tough situation, and obviously Raya's still on loan, and I do expect us to buy him, but I think I do want Raya to do well. But I think at the moment I'm not too sure if I think Raya is better than Ramsdale, and I don't have a problem with Arteta bringing in someone as an upgrade or someone that can help us, because like I said, Ramsdale did make a few mistakes, but I don't know if Raya is that upgrade that we need. So I think I'm happy for us to bring in a goalkeeper to change things, but I just don't know if Raya is that guy that could help us improve personally. But I'm willing to support them both, and it'll just be interesting to see what happens with the goalkeeper situation.
Oh, fair play, Steve. Yeah. Do you know what, Steve? I totally agree with you on that one. Everything you said, totally agree. Tony, your thoughts, mate?
See, if there's anyone who would answer this question very well, it's Manny, because Manny came
That's
to
what I
my
wanted
show
him to do last.
exactly. If there's anyone who would, it's got to be Manny. Manny came to my show on a show that me and him were doing on one of my shows, and he told me, he said, "You see, Anthony, yeah, I'm fed up with Ramsdale." Manny said it on my show, and we went into the specifics of it, and I did agree with him. Ramsdale lacks concentration, and that was what Manny, was banging on. Good. Now, like, just see the trajectory. Manny said this like this was about 3 4 months ago. Yeah, talking about the concentration levels, and then, mind you, yeah, Zichenko had an interview with a Man United legend, and told that legend that he can't defend. Yeah,
Mm.
this particular interview, yeah, shattered the whole thing, threw everything all away. Yeah, the interview with Ian Wright, uh, an Arsenal legend, and then Ramsdale talking to an Arsenal legend, admitting that his concentration levels in games is not 100, that he can't concentrate for the whole 90 minutes. Now, this is a footballer that's been paid by Arsenal Football Club, and you have the cojones to come out in an interview and say that your concentration levels for 90 minutes can't be guaranteed, and you're a player of Arsenal Football Club. I'm sorry, Manny called it on my show several months ago. I'm not surprised about it now, because later on I chimed into that crusade, and I wanted someone new. Did I want Raya? When I saw it, I said, okay, he's a good goalkeeper, good distributor of the ball playing goalkeeper, good reflexes also. He can monitor, he can galvanize his back four. I really do like Raya, mostly with the numbers he was putting up at Brentford. And I was like, okay, good. If he comes to Arsenal with a more superior back four, maybe he would have something more better to do, or something, to dish out to the Arsenal faithfuls. He's kept at least up to 50% of the games he's played. He's kept a clean sheet also. So I'll pitch my tent with David Raya right now. I think
Yeah.
he's more focused on the game. He's more focused on the game. But again, he just came into this team. We need to give him time to actually get to relax and get to understand his back four, because it's a very, very critical thing. If maybe he had a preseason with this team, it's a different ball game altogether. Kai Havertz had a preseason with this team. He didn't. He just came in. So we need to see what happens with David Raya. But I think with him right now is just the way to go. I would not take a goalkeeper that lacks concentration. Mostly concentration levels up to 90 minutes. You have to have that. It's a prerequisite in the game. You have to have it. And I'm sorry, Anthony. I know you really have supported Ramsdale, but I'm sorry. We just have to look at this with clear eyes, and with this vision that's very, very clear. I do like Ramsdale as a person. The way he galvanizes the team, and his motivational, characteristics that he does have. But I'm
Yeah.
sorry, there comes a time when all those things is not enough. I need to see concentration levels. He gave up to at least two games last season that equals to 6 points. We lost the title with about 5 points last season. If we did get those 6 points, we would have won the title nice and easy. So you see, it's hard to go into all those debates
Mm,
right now.
yeah.
Ramsdale is a very likable factor, but apart from that, you need to, mostly in that goalkeeping position, you need to have 100% concentration levels when you're there. And since Ramsdale has admitted that live on air, not just to anyone, but to an Arsenal legend, oh my God, you need to see Ian Wright's mouth. He left it wide,
Way
like
to,
it was
yeah.
gaping for like about 2 minutes. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was in shock. So t- everyone might have their own take on that, but I'll pitch my tent with David Raya. I think is a more superior
The
goalkeeper.
goalkeeper, yeah. Manny, your thoughts on this saga. I've no idea. I've heard your thoughts before, but all I'm going to say before you have your say, should have never sold Martinez. That's my opinion. But anyway, Manny, all yours, mate.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Tony for reminding everyone of that particular thing. I mean, the thing about Ramsdale is, as Tony said, he might be a bit of a nice, cheeky chappy, but does he have the seriousness to really want to, improve his craft and go on to become the Arsenal legend he said he wanted to be? And when you take a look at his attitude and certainly what he said, the answer is probably no. Now, there is a bit of a disclaimer over here. I remember seeing on Twitter somebody putting up a post about Edison who said that when he first came to Manchester City, he suffered from concentration problems too and had to hire a specialist to sort of help him with that cerebral function, and it sort of paid dividends in a way. And I tell you what, if Edison hadn't have done that work, it would have been a different story, because at that time, when Guardiola made the decision to get rid of Joe Hart and bring in his two boys, Bravo and Edison, I think it was actually Edison that was brought in after Bravo's horror first season, but it is what it is. Bravo looked absolutely horrible. And Caballero, I think, was the backup keeper at the time. He had to be brought in for a few games. Then Edison came in, and the rest is history. If Guardiola had known that Edison was suffering from concentration problems and it was affecting his own form and the way he was playing, then I'm sure he would have been quite ruthless enough to drop him. And even now, I think of late, we've seen Guardiola not hesitate to berate Edison on occasions when he failed to do things that Guardiola wants him to do. And I have seen Edison make some howlers. But the big difference is, Ederson has improved his ability to make some clutch saves when it matters the most. And now, of course, in addition to the multiple league titles, he also now has a Champions League winners' medal to his credit as part of a treble. Ramsdale hasn't really won anything. And when you take a look at his career trajectory, as a lot of people have pointed out, and as I have also made it very clear, he was lucky to have signed for been able to sign for Arsenal, because I don't think there's any other manager who would have been willing to take a punt on a guy who had 2 consecutive relegation scraps. For me, he reminds me a great deal of Paul Robinson, who at one point we were interested in, but thankfully we didn't sign him. He went on to Tottenham and was indulged over there in ahead of Casey Keller, who was easily much better than him. And then, of course, everyone was still waxing lyrical of him. But then at the 2006 World Cup, he was flapping everywhere, on crosses especially. And in the 2008 Euros, he was flopping badly, kicking air balls, which would hit divots and go in. And, his confidence would be completely shattered and he would never play for England again. And his career ended up declining. He moved on to Blackburn and I think Burnley, and that was it. We never heard from him again. And if Ramsdale isn't careful, he could end up going the same way.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with Sophie that Raya isn't necessarily an upgrade because, yes, he's a more than decent shot stopper and does okay on crosses, but he is rather short. And we saw with the Newcastle goal that, when you have a goalkeeper like that who tries to, go for that high across and can't get it, it just looks completely awful. And, questions do have to be asked about the poor defending, which allowed our ex-gunner, Joe Willock, to retrieve that ball and get the cross in. And then, of course, I don't want to talk about the VAR controversy because that's a different story. But I agree that Raya so far hasn't shown too much that he's a better option than Ramsdale. But I suppose marginally, when you take a look at things, he is perhaps at least marginally better. And if he is given more confidence, especially after the games against Burnley and against Sevilla at home in the Champions League, he now has to be given the confidence to have a consistent run of games. But if he does suffer a bad patch of form, Ramsdale will come back in. But in as much as I despise Arteta's man management, Ramsdale has only himself to blame because he had his chance to secure his spot. He made a poor error in pre-season against Manchester United. And, of course, in the first 4 games that he played, he wasn't really all that impressive, to be honest. And so Arteta made the decision to try to, make that change and bring Raya in. And although Raya has looked good against lesser opposition, we might now need to be very wary and say that unless he proves himself against the bigger and better teams that he's going to come up against, he's not going to be much of an upgrade on Ramsdale either. And I agree with Sophie. And going back to a question that was asked earlier, this situation could very well affect the development of the team. And for Nick Ramsdale to do what he did, the reason why he said we've got to support David Raya at the end is quite simple. He had to save face. Because it's one thing to, come on an interview show and talk about the situation, but to say that effectively your son isn't happy anymore, he's no longer smiling because he's not playing. Well, obviously it goes without saying that if you're not playing, you don't really have that much of a smile on your face. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. But for the father to come and say that, I mean, that really has the potential to cause a lot of hurt within the camp, and it's going to be Aaron's responsibility, in my opinion, to mend a few fences. For what it's worth, he will be playing against Brentford once we resume from the international break. And if he has a really good game against Brentford, then maybe that might just give him a stay of execution and he could stay until the end of the season. Because let's get one thing straight. In as much as he may be very highly valued, we are not going to sell the guy unless we can guarantee ourselves a good replacement. And I think we might need to get ourselves a replacement before we can even think of selling him. It's a bit like how we ended up securing Raya and then allowed Matt Turner to go to Nottingham Forest. One thing is clear. One thing which is rather clear is that Arteta's talent ID when it comes to goalkeepers is practically non-existent. And what he's done is effectively hurt Ramsdale's confidence so much that when he played against West Ham in the League Cup, he absolutely looked out of it. That third goal that he conceded was just poor technique. And I had a mate of mine reply to my tweet on that saying, I don't know whether you're serious or just trolling here. And he's one person who has been very critical of Raya, saying that Ramsdale was good last season and it was the team that failed. But I'm sorry, you can't say that a player deserves credit for doing well throughout a season, and then when he completely mucks up near the end, when he's needed to be at his best, say, well, we win as a team and we lose as a team. And yes, there were a few players who simply didn't stand up to be counted that time, that season. I can think of Zinchenko. I can think of who else? Granit Xhaka also faded away. And even Saka also was, almost non-existent. Saliba getting injured didn't help. But then, this is why you've got to have yourself a good squad and know what to buy and what to where to strengthen. And Arteta failed to do that. And again, he has to take some blame because he is involved in the decisions. Yeah. So Ramsdale had his chances, and we're not going to sell him unless we can get a replacement goalkeeper, but he is going to have to be a little bit patient. And if he decides at the end of the season that he wants to leave, then we will certainly let him go with our best wishes. But he will have to accept that if he wasn't able to realize his dream of becoming an Arsenal legend, then it really is his own fault. And for him to sort of have this worry about not being picked for the Euros, well, he originally wasn't picked for the last Euros because he had a poor season with Sheffield United. He got relegated and only got into the main squad when Dean Henderson got injured. So he's also in his mid-20s. I think Jordan Pickford might have one more World Cup in him, and then he'll also decide to retire from international football. So with Ramsdale, Nick Pope, and Sam Johnson, and maybe one or two others in the fringes, there will be chances for Ramsdale to reassert himself. To me, I think it smacks of him not really having the right attitude in addition to having poor powers of concentration. He also doesn't seem to be willing to work too much with his goalkeeping coaches on his craft because he keeps making very similar mistakes again and again, whether it's with his footwork or his positioning. And that's why I never really got myself overhyped when he made that save from James Maddison at the King Power Stadium, because to hear some people comparing him to David Seaman is utterly stupid. Personally, Emi Martinez was much more like David Seaman than the goalkeepers we've had since.
Yeah.
And it's all really down to Ramsdale. He's now responsible now to try to make sure he steps up his work in training, identifies the mistakes he's made and really works on them, but also properly mend fences with the manager and the rest of the squad, and also with Raya, and offer him his proper full support, and not just do things for the cameras. And I'll tell you what, ever since seeing that, and I will be brief, this will be the last thing I want to say. Ever since seeing that exchange on the All for Nothing documentary, where he berated Gabriel Magalhaes for being at fault for conceding the goal, which cost him his clean sheet. I believe it was against I don't remember the opposition. It might have been Crystal Palace, I think. We won that game 3-1, but because he was denied a clean sheet, he was miserable in the dressing room afterwards. He mouthed off at him and then said, that cost me a clean sheet. Now, I'm sorry, but that was your league debut, your second appearance at the club. You don't have anywhere near the level of clout to go ahead and mouth off a senior defender like that. But if you are more concerned with keeping a clean sheet and padding your stats than seeing the team win, what kind of a team player are you? And what the hell have you done to display that sort of attitude? And people have the nerve, like Wayne Rooney, to compare him to Peter Schmeichel. Schmeichel was a winner. A winner. In 92, he backstopped Denmark to the European Championships, and they only got into that tournament after then Yugoslavia were kicked out due to their political situation. So Schmeichel had clout. He also, let's not forget, won the League Cup in his first season with United and was a part of the team that finished second. And the following season, they won the Premiership. So Ramsdale is nowhere near Peter Schmeichel, and he has to get over himself. He has to improve his attitude and all facets of his, play, and also his concentration. He has to work even harder now to try and improve his reputation. And if he can do that and come out with a bit more credit, then fair play to the fella. Until then, I'm sorry, but he's done himself no favors. And we need to make sure that we back Raya and support him. But then we can also accept that if he doesn't perform up to scratch, he cannot be the upgrade. And next season, I'd like to see him benched and a better goalkeeper come in. I'd say sell Ramsdale, bench Raya, and offer Aston Villa a blank check to try and get Emi Martinez back, although I know in my heart of hearts that won't happen. And speaking of which, we're not going to get Ollie Watkins or Douglas Luiz either. Unai Emery will not allow Arsenal to muck him over yet again.
No, that's true.
Anthony, please, just give me just 2 minutes, please. Let's don't forget the chief culprit in this whole scene. Yeah, Mikel Arteta.
It is big.
6 goalkeepers. Yeah, this is the chief culprit. Let's call a spade a spade. 6 goalkeepers since this guy has arrived to this football club. I've gone past this guy in this league. Six. Nothing would be enough. Now, with Ramsdale's father, mounting off and saying all these things to the public. We all know that Mikel Arteta is a ruthless guy. He's a very, very ruthless guy. Just because of that alone, Ramsdale would be thrown out of this football club. Let's be very frank. And you know what? Yeah, I'm seeing it as early as January. And see, it's easy to say Arsenal have to, get out all this money, because you said something like maybe till the end of the season. I don't really think Arsenal have the resources to actually go look for players right now. If you check what's going on, FFP rules is breathing down our neck right now. In fact, it will press our necks. We can't even afford. See, Raya was brought on loan. He's not even being bought. There's a big problem. FFP rules is breathing down our necks. Now, we have to go and sell Ramsdale. He should be the number one guy in the market, because we need a striker. We need to fund it. There's only 2 ways we can get funding. Only 2 ways. Emergency loan from our club owners, the Cronkies, in which I'm just hearing that they might only be able to give about 50 million to Mikel Arteta by January. That's the only way, or unless we have to raise money through selling off players. Do you think Cedric the Entertainer is going to leave this football club? No, they want to play with Win the Dog. They're not going to leave. El Neni is not going to leave by January. These players aren't going to leave. We can't sell them. They're not going to be sold. So,
but Tony, I get what you're saying, but just briefly, and I will be brief.
We need money.
But Tony, listen. Even if we do sell Ramsdale, the biggest priority as well would be to get a replacement goalkeeper. Do you want to go into the remainder of the season with Carl Hayne as your backup? I don't think so.
No. Anyway, let's move on to
do you want to go through the league without a striker? Because that's the bigger picture. That's a bigger picture. I'll prefer to go with Raya as my number one, and maybe that Hayne as a backup. I don't care, provided I have a striker. Because right now we don't even have the money to go pick up a striker by January. We're in trouble.
Well, if that's the case, Tim, we shouldn't have sold Matty Turner. We should have kept Matty Turner and kept Ramsdale and kept Raya where he was.
Exactly. Blame the manager. It's the manager.
It's the manager. So what we're going to do now, sorry, Tim, to cut you off, because time is ticking on. Ruben Neves, apparently in January, is rumoured that Mikel Arteta has gone in for him for a loan deal in January. Marley, I'm just going to make this all quick, everybody. What do we think about this? Personally, going back a couple of seasons ago, this was a guy that I wanted in DM about three seasons ago. Finally, it might be coming back round again. We could possibly get him. I hope we do, because anything to take Jorginho out the equation and bring in Ruben Neves. Marley, your thoughts, mate?
Well, first of all, I don't think Jorginho is terrible, but I think that's the first position we should be looking to do something in January. And if I'm being honest, I don't see us doing more than one piece of business. So I think we're looking for a DM or a CM. Cousin, like if I'm to decide, like if I worked for Arsenal right now, like I'd be constantly calling Fluminense saying, give me André. He's also cheaper, and he's a much better player than Ruben Neves. He's a much better player than Partey. He's a much better player than Jorginho, and he costs a lot less. But, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be Ruben Neves either. Like, I think he's going to end up going somewhere else. I think he's okay. I think he'd be starting for us for the remainder of the season. I don't think Ruben Neves is a long-term answer for us. For looking to grow as a club, I don't think he's a lot better than Granit Xhaka, if I'm being honest. If I'm looking at last season, so sure. If it's a loan, it's not too risky, right? But it's not something that overly excites me or anything.
No. Okay, Sophie, your views on this one?
Yeah, I think I would say that I'm open to it really. I know that we've also been linked to Douglas Luiz as well, and I think we've heard these links for a little while now, but like you said, I think with Jorginho, I kind of stand on the fact I don't mind him. I don't think he's incredible, but I don't think he's terrible. I think he does an okay job, and obviously he does seem to be our captain when other players aren't available in the team, which I don't necessarily agree with. But obviously the midfield is an issue at the moment, and Partey is absent quite a lot, and especially with Declan Rice, I think he does play quite a lot and he could suffer an injury. And I think I'd be open to it, especially if it's a loan. Like if it does go bad, it's only a loan and he can go back. But I know in January it's going to be important that we bring the right players in, because I was saying on the show, like especially with United, they do tend to just buy players for the sake of it, and I wouldn't want us to just buy players because we need them. I think we've got to bring the right players in to help us for the league, and also we've got the Champions League as well. So we do need the right players, and we obviously are suffering with quite a few injuries, and Partey could be back soon, but you never know what his injuries will be like for after January. So, yeah, I'm open to it. I'm not like 100% sure what I think. Like you said there with Xhaka, I think Xhaka for me. I did like Xhaka, and I think it would have been helpful if he stays for this season and maybe went the season after. But yeah, I think I'd give it a chance really and see what he can do at Arsenal.
Yeah. Tone, your thoughts on this one, mate? Ruben Neves, a loan deal in January. Could you see this happening?
See that Ruben Neves one, yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. There's a lot of caveat around that signing. Mind you, 20 Premier League clubs have to vote by next week, based on the fact that if they would allow teams that own other teams, if they can be able to do business with each other and buy buy players within themselves. Mind you, Newcastle is in the running for Ruben Neves. Mind you, Tonali has been suspended, and it's a very, very lengthy ban. So this is what it's going to take. They're looking on bringing him in. In that January transfer window, because the same group that owns Al Hilal, where he's playing in the Saudi Pro League, are the same owners of Newcastle. So there's a conflict of interest. But again, those 20 Premier League clubs have to vote by next week, then we will know if that will happen. And we can't clearly say it won't happen, because when Saudi money goes around, anything can happen this day. So I'm not completely sure about that. Uh, Ruben Ruben also have his own fair share of injury woes too. I like him as a player. I think he's that player in that mold that Arsenal really do need right now. Look at when we went to Newcastle, we're being beaten, being bruised, being humiliated, being deboked, yeah, by those Newcastle lots, yeah, being like see the level of the, the level of the way in which those guys kind of humiliated us, yeah, it just shows that they had more bigger players, more muscular players, more players who were up for the fight than Arsenal did it. Even a seasoned player like Jorginho was being brutalized everywhere by Bruno Guimaraes, of all players, who just came to this league 2 seasons ago. So Arsenal do need muscle in the middle of the park. But again, I'll go for a player like Andre Trindade, who plays for Fluminense. I think our brother Charlie will be all over this one. They just won the Copa Libertadores. Excellent player. I love this guy. But again, I still do think that Fluminense wants to turn this into a bidding war with Liverpool. They said that Liverpool have left, that chase, but I still think it's just a ploy to just kind of like knock clubs heads together just to bump up the price for the guy. I will be looking at that guy. At least at worst, it'll be costing something, let's say maybe 60 million, 60, 50 million. But is that the luxury of amount that Arsenal have right now? I don't know. If you want to go for a more conservative choice, if you want to go for a more conservative choice, we can go for Zubramendi, who plays for Real Sociedad. Nice displays, lovely guy. So it depends on the poison we want to pick. But if it's me, I'll be going for Zubramendi. Understands European football, has played with a couple of our teammates already. Kiri and Tierney is playing down there in Real Sociedad. Great guy, and they have that understanding already from there. He has also played with our captain Martin Odegaard. They played. I think Martin Odegaard was on a season-long loan from Real Madrid down there in Real Sociedad. So they've played together with this guy, so they know him. He's a very very fierce guy in the middle of the park. Nice recoveries. It's been long since when we've had a central midfielder that plays like Catola. This one, he moves well. He dribbles also. He can also play in the central midfield. He can also play as a 10. He's a great guy. I like that guy, and I prefer him. It's better we get that guy.
Yeah, he's good. Money, your thoughts on this one?
Should be a decent buy. I mean, I really wondered what was the sense in allowing him to go to the Saudi League when clearly he still had some good years in him. And Gary O'Neill will probably be wishing he had a guy like him very much in the in his team right now. Of course, they're picking up some terrific results. They beat Manchester City, they beat Spurs, they drew to Aston Villa, they drew to Newcastle. Of course, when we go over to Molineux, I'm pretty sure we might have the Indian sign over them. But again, that's a story for another day. I do like the point that Tony raised about the possibility of Newcastle snatching him from us, because obviously, with the Saudi links that Newcastle have, it could very well be that Neves would decide would end up having to go to Newcastle in the first place. But again, if Arsenal are willing to really do whatever they can and do a little bit more to try and get Neves, then maybe they should go for him. And yet I'm a little bit worried, because given how we literally broke the bank to get Declan Rice in, and FFP, as Anthony is, Toni Claude has pointed out, I think TC would be good. Yeah, I'll call you TC from now on. Every time whenever you and Mr. Herbert are on a stream, it's TC. That's fine. So as TC has said, FFP will also be breathing down our necks. Yeah. And the reason why Neves might be a better example is because, as I said in conclusion of my Ramsdale rant, neither Douglas Luiz nor Ollie Watkins will be coming to Arsenal, because there is no way that Unai Emery will countenance that, and the board will make sure they back their manager and make sure that those two stay. Yeah. I mean, why would he want to allow two of his linchpin players in their season so far to walk away and move to the club which sacked him? It just doesn't make any sense at all.
And especially no matter team rank players like that as well. So do you know what I mean?
You bet. And so Neves might look to certainly be the option, and if we can promise him, I think the key factor over here is that with Newcastle having struggled of late in the Champions League following that freakishly brilliant performance against PSG, they've lost twice to Borussia Dortmund home and away. They've also got to play AC Milan at St. James's Park, and the Milan are also starting to recover a little bit. It is very doubtful whether they will qualify for the next stage. And of course, we have to keep in mind that the group in which they are is very much a group of death, with two former champions of that league, and of course a team in Paris Saint-Germain who are perennial qualifiers, perennial challengers, but also perennial bridesmaids. They never get too far enough. The final was the furthest they've gone. But as for us, for what it's worth, we are expected to qualify, although it must be said that if PSV and Lens win both of their remaining games and they've got to play us, we could end up dropping into the Europa League. But the likelihood of us losing both of those games, I think. I'm not saying that we can in any way take anything for granted, but we should be able to get a draw at least against one of those teams and make sure that we secure our passage through. So the prospect of playing in the Champions League in January, if he comes in, will certainly be very tempting for Senor Neves. But I do like what Marley was saying about, trying to recruit some players from Brazil. And it does sort of tie back into what Senor Gaspar was doing, trying to have that deal with the with Marquinhos, with that Brazilian club, and I believe it was Sao Paulo, I think, trying to sort of offer a kind of kickback in a way to try and build a business relationship. So why don't Arsenal look to South America for some options? And there are some more than decent players who can certainly be on the radar. The only problem is I just wonder if the entire muck-up with Sao Paulo will probably mean that South American players might not necessarily be on the radar. And even if Arteta speaks some fluent Spanish enough to communicate with those guys, except, of course, if it's Brazil, if they're from Brazil, then Portuguese would be the language chosen. And, of course, with Martinelli, Magalhaes, and Jesus, and, of course, Vieira in that team, that wouldn't be a problem anyway. But I just think for now, it's a reflection on how poorly Senor Gaspar has done with regard to player dealings that we're looking to sign someone like Neves on loan. And, of course, the fact that it's on loan pretty much says it all. We are in serious FFP trouble, and if that's the best that we can do. But I think Neves was one of Wolves' key players. I think he's still, if memory serves me right, I think he is still a full international with Portugal. And he certainly would be someone who could add a lot of impetus to our team and really strengthen our midfield. If it means that we never have to play either Kai Havertz or Jorginho again, I say hallelujah, bring him to the club. But it'll remain to be seen whether that actually takes place, and we might perhaps have to look for some other options. Why we couldn't have gotten someone like a Mohamed Kudus, which West Ham did with the Declan Rice money, I will never, ever know.
No, and to be honest with you, fair play for you saying that. Anything with Kai Havertz getting out of our team, that's it. I'm just going to hit the last two comments, and then we're going to call it a night. DWTT, he goes on and says, like VAR, I wish Arteta was consistent, especially with ruthlessness. If he can bring in Raya and can't improve on Jesus and Eddie, Nelson should be replaced with better competition for Saka. Well, yeah, I totally agree with that. But I mean, there's certain areas where we need improving. But Mikel Arteta, knowing how stubborn our manager can be, he most probably won't do that. King TV, wow, this is a question for you, Sophie. Sophie, what do you think of Arsenal's chances are in the Champions League? Can they go all the way?
Well, considering it's the first time back in the Champions League for ages, probably not going to say we'll win it. I'm not going to lie. I think I've said from the start, I think if we got to the quarterfinals, the semis, I feel like I'm pushing it a bit because we've got the league, and like I've said, I want us to go for the FA Cup as well. So I want to be realistic. So I've said, I think the quarterfinals, I think I'd be content with. Obviously, I want to win everything, but I know our squads, we've still got a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot of injuries. So I think if we got to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, I think that would be good for us because we've not been in the Champions League for a very long time, and it's just great to be back, and it's great to see players like Martinelli, Saka that have really helped us get there. So, yeah, I think the quarterfinals would be good, but I'm just interested to see how far we're going to go in it, really.
Yeah, in quarterfinals, that's a good shape. That's what I've said. That's a decent run in the quarterfinals. First time in a long time. But I think that's pretty much it. The show, Sophie, because you just had your last, you said your last words. Would you like to give your show a shout out?
What do you say?
Would you like to give your show a shout out?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, by the way. I've really enjoyed chatting with you guys because I know a few of you have not met before, so it's been lovely. But yeah, my YouTube channel is Guna Gossip TV, and I just basically talk about the games and have a few people on. I'll definitely have some of you guys on for sure. It's been a pleasure. So thank you so much for having me on.
That's okay. You're welcome. Hey, anytime if you want to come on, obviously I think we're friends on Twitter now, so just send me a message, or I'll send you a message, and we'll get you on the show. And the other one who's got a show, Paul, he's cooking, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry I have to add this to that to the discussion. Manny was talking about Eddie Gaspar, making some deals with Sao Paulo. Also, he was just this summer. He was also in Fluminense, checking out their facilities in Brazil and signing some memoranda of understanding with that football club. So even to some extent, some people were even saying that there might be on that table talks for Andre Trindade, that player who also won in the Libertadores. So, who knows? Let's see what's going to happen. He's been spreading his tentacles around Brazil. Let's hope he brings something good. Let's see. Yeah, guys. Yeah, it's a big honor to be amongst this. My fellow podcasters down here. Charlie, always nice to, be around you too, man. Sometimes you hit me with a quick jab, but one day we will have our ring where me and you would really, try to outbox each other. We will have that time. I can't wait to bring you to my show, man. It's just time. Manny, always a pleasure being around you, man. Thanks. Hopefully, get to see you on the show very, very, very soon, man. Big ups to you. And Sophie, it's nice to meet you.
You
Smooth
too.
talking, nice lady. It's nice to meet you. So hopefully I will subscribe to your channel right now, and hopefully we get to see and we get to
Yeah,
work
definitely.
together, or you give me the opportunity to work with you. I like your person, and it'd be nice to work with you. Anthony, thank you for giving me the chance. You and Matt, to always come down here. It's a big, big pleasure to always be down here with you. With you and Matt, wherever you are. Big ups to you, man. I started from this place here too, so it's always a big honor. I will be with the mouthy Tottenham Hotspur fan Deji Spurs this weekend. Yeah, because I'm taking some
Ooh, love
days
it.
off. So the mouthy Tottenham Hotspur fan. See, a couple of weeks ago, these guys were all saying, yeah, everywhere on the big channels, on YouTube Space,
Yeah.
on the terrace, everywhere, never a foul. These guys were saying they were gonna win the league. Well, it only it only took Chelsea, to send them to the abyss. And right now, we just have to. I don't know if this is the calm before the storm or the storm before the calm, but whatever that is, yeah. So they just wasn't be coming to answer for his crimes against Arsenal fans on my show this weekend because of what Wolves did to them. He still hasn't answered questions about that Chelsea grilling also. So he has to be here in the weekend on I think on Sunday. So guys, come join us and let's see if we can have a good show on the day. Thank you,
Yeah,
everyone.
no, that's all right, Tony. And look, listen, you're always welcome on the show. And do you know what? If it wasn't for you, and I always say Marley and Manny as well, because I got to put Manny in this consideration, there wouldn't really be much of a Gunners for More Corners. And I'll always say that. And thank you for coming on. Manny, did you want to give yourself a shout out, mate?
Thank you very much indeed, mate. And no real YouTube channel of my own as of yet, but I'm here, there, and everywhere. Big up to Football United and Anthony and Matt for having me on. Always a pleasure to come over here on a Thursday. And also big up to the other channels where you can find me. Obviously, Del Boy Gunner TV, Coach's Corner, Oris Talks Football, Toni Claude Gunner TV, of course. I always shout him out wherever I can. Danny A.F.C TV, another fella who I do some watch-alongs with and also have a lot of chats with at times. Up the cherries in all departments with Craig Beasley. We do the cherry picking show whenever we possibly can. I think we could have done a show this week to talk about the Bournemouth Newcastle game and other stuff, but I think Craig seems to be busy with work these days. But whenever he has an idea for a show, he calls me up and asks me if I'm ready, and I say, mate, I'm on my way. And also big up to the likes of AFC Talk Show TV, Eugene Spurs Asia TV, Northside LDN is another one, and just several other channels at the moment that I can't really think of right now, but always happy to be a part of them and whenever I can. Do please give a shout out to Warren's Team Talk as well, because I remember doing an interview with him where he asked me about my life as a football fan. I think he said he had some problems uploading the video. I don't know if it went through, but hopefully it got uploaded and you can see me having a nice chat with him. One of the nicest interviews I've ever done, where I spoke a great deal about my life as a football fan, and just several other channels, as I said, where I often come on. I don't really have the energy to name them, but they're all really important to me. And big up as well to our amazing other panelists, Sophie, Marley. Good to meet you all again.
You too. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. And I always say that whenever we come on these streams, we've got to treat each other the way we'd like to be treated. And that's why there should be no room for any kind of snide or banter or any level of disrespect or abuse in any way. Because if we can't learn to disagree without being disagreeable, there's no point in having a discussion. So let's just be good to one another. Simple as that. And nothing much else to say, except I hope you all have a safe weekend. Thanks a lot to everyone in the chat who joined in. Do please like and subscribe to this channel as well. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your Friday and the weekend ahead, and don't do anything that the panel and I wouldn't do. But as always, from me, it is farewell to thee, and goodbye and God bless to every one of you. Cheers.
Thank you, Manny. Well said, mate. And last but not least, Marley, where can people find you? Being Marley, you're on mute.
You found me. This is my home.
Yes.
This is where I come every now and then. Plan on getting back to doing the theater shows. I've been taking a break, because Fluminense won, so I've been just celebrating. That's all I'm thinking about. Can't really bring myself to talk about anything South American that's not Fluminense related. So that's why I need a little break there.
I'm sure you must be delighted that Boca Juniors lost the. Oh yeah, that was of course the Libertadores, which you won, right?
Yeah.
The Copa Libertadores. Yeah.
Beating Boca was fun, but like Fluminense won, so whoever we beat doesn't really matter. But being Boca and being in the stadium, that was fantastic. So I needed a bit of a break, but I plan on getting back with the FITA show soon to chat some South American football, some North American football as well, teach you guys about, the less popular football areas of the world. And pleasure to be here as always.
Yeah, that's same, mate. I just want to say a quick thank you for everybody who's watched, everybody who's put their comments in. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday and have a great weekend. And we're out of here.